Good evening, everybody. It is very nice to be here to spend some time together. Um, the sketching is a kind of like I've been doing this since I was very, very little. My mom always said, my notebook always filled with a sketch. She wasn't really happy, but now she's thanked to me what I'm doing right now. But at that time, she wasn't really happy because she wanted me to be like doctor or something else, the things I don't want it to be. But luckily, I think my love of sketching gave me like an opportunity to do something what I wanted to do. And also it was just one of the things connect me close to Karl as well. I think my first conversation with the Karl talking about love of sketching, and he was immediately reacted. Me too. I love to sketch. I do sketch all my collection, which is very not everybody doing it this day, but I think once you know how to do it, it's really great way to kind of to enhance your the working life and then everything together. Because even if you travel somewhere, the language varies, so you don't know how to. If you want to explain to something, sometimes draw something, then they know what it is. So drawing and sketch can be very international. So I think it's a great way to learn, and if you like it, it's really fun to do it. When you're sitting in a boring meeting, you can just do something underneath your hand, can just draw something about what's going on in here. Before we start sketching, I think it's a great thing to know about what is a sketching. Actually, sketching is quite interesting about if you look at the modern painter, like in a Kandinsky's book, he described about some of the basic element. I think everything has a basic element about before you start it. If you look at it, there's a three-dimensional, and then there's a four different kind of dimension, like a 0 dimension to 3 dimension, which is you can see a flat to more like 3 dimension, like a more shape. So the first, you start with the point. Point is what you see, or like a dot. You start with a dot. We normally call this in a 0 dimensional thing because it doesn't really create any value of it. But if you connect a dot to dot, it became a line. The line create already one dimension. So it doesn't create any shape, but you can see actually moving. But when you move the dot to dot, and if you close the dot, we call it plane, which is a flat surface. So it's a 2-dimensional. Most of the sketches are 2-dimensional actually, but depends on how you mimic, which is sometimes you're adding a shade and darkness or light. You can create it look like a 3-dimensional, but which is not really 3-dimensional, which is a flat. When you combine these 2 or 3 element of plane, it became a solid. As you know, the solid mean it's something the structural. So if I have a 1. So I started with a dot, and then I put another dot. I create a dot in here, and then after draw another dot and draw another dot. If I close this, so you see already dot, the point, line, and plane. So as you can see, plane is a 2-dimension, but if I create another dot to dot, now I make. This is also 2-dimensional, but based on the mimic, I can create into the 3-dimensional, which is it's the illusion of your eyes. If I see the light coming from here, top of the box will give you a little bit light, and then side will give you a little bit of shade. The other side, where the darkness started, will create a little bit of more darker. As you can see now, if you see it on the screen, it looks like a 3-dimensional, but actually it's 2-dimension. So this is how we're starting in a sketching. Line, also using the line combined together, plane. And if you look at all the object, you can actually not minimize, like for example, if you look at it sometimes like a look at the head, we describe it as a round shape. And if you look at your leg and arm, it's sort of like the pillar shape. So the pillar and then the body, we describe it a little bit more like square. So like, if you look at the children's drawing, they draw like in a simple round for head and line for the leg and arms and leg. Sometimes you can see like do it as a square. If I have a square line and this is a basic way to you can see the shape. But if you're going more moving forward, a little bit more detail, you can play with a little bit. So before we started, maybe we can just have a quick understanding of the basic shape. So we have a square, and then we have a pillar, and then even the pillar is like a circle with a two line combined together. If I have the light coming here, this will be the lightest place, and as you're going, it will be a little bit shade, and then where's the light coming, and the middle part, and then where is the darkness coming, so like it will give you a nice, like a smooth round shape. Then so this part of the pillar can be used as an arm or finger. So like if you going into the little detail, so if I have line and then square the box and then pillar, I can create everything I wanted. So for example, if I want to do the hand palm will be square shape. And then finger became a more like connection of the pillar. As you can see, I just combine these two and then make a variation, and then you can round it, create a little bit more softer. Oh, by the way, everybody probably using pink and green sketchpad, but I have to use a black in order to give you a more clear the visual effect. If I use a white sketchbook here, probably it's very difficult for you to see it. So it's not I'm trying to do any kind of trick, just kind of like for the convenience of your. And then what you need to do, connecting this dots and line and then square, if you just combine and then slowly round it, and then you can create a little bit of, sometime I look at my finger, but I've been doing sketch a lot, so I can see pretty much what I need. And then you have a So as you can see, we start with a very basic two pieces, but you can already do something more. And then you have a wrist. And if you connect the wrist with another pillar, it's almost like a It's almost like when you buy this kind of moving stick figure, like the connected by wooden, so you can see how things moving around. So like our wrist can move, but if you are looking into the detail, you can divide into all the basic element. So we play with a little bit of hand. Now I have a very, very cute object. We can start like in a, maybe if you have something at home, also you can try. I'm sure many people has a very nice like a cow figure. If you look at it, also this is a very like a simplified like in a figure. So we will start with a so it was a smaller and a shorter version of it, and then it connected with another pillar. And again, if there's a light, you can see which part will be the most light and which part will be the dark. So this is a lightest place, and as you can see, it will create a little bit of shade in here. And we can follow the line of the cow's hairline. Sunglass. Some people already say, oh, that looks so easy. Don't worry. Next level is coming. And I have to do everything in a negative way because I'm using the black as a ground and then white as the object. So like, I have to, so think of it, what I'm making really light, it means you're gonna do it, make it dark. And light coming here, you will have a little bit of. So this is what we're just looking at it, starting from the point, line, plane, and solid is not really solid because it's just illusion of the solid, but creating a 0-dimensional to 3-dimensional looking. So if we starting this is almost like the basic of the sketch. So now we can go into the little bit more interesting way to see. So sometimes you can use your picture or you can use your mirror. So self-portrait, but I'm not going to do self-portrait now because I don't have a mirror. But I have amazing, actually this is interesting. Feels like I'm going back to my high school time. I used to go to the atelier in the after school. I have to do a little extra curriculum of sketching because in order to go into the art school, you have to have a extra curriculum. So this is one of the Greek and Italian statue we always practice drawing. So it's really fun actually. And also like a very well-known like a Giuliano de Medici. So you can see how it started. So now we're gonna do the exactly same thing. The face is what we just talked about, is more like circular shape. More is actually head is a 3-dimensional, which is solid, but it's more like egg shape. So you can start it with the shape of the egg first. So don't be afraid, like, if the shape is not perfect, because as we sketching, you can always changing. And so the Giuliano, I'm not sure like everybody knows about the Giuliano Medici. I think this is one of the sculpture from the Medici's family. And you can see like, one of the famous, like, been using for the lot of artists has been also used it for drawing. So he has a slightly like a tilted. So I'm not starting from the perfect. So I slightly slanted on the side. And then if you divide into the half on the vertical way, that will be the size your nose running. And then if you divide into the slightly more like horizontal but slightly more tilted, this will be an eye line. Of course, everybody has a different shape of the head and then different detail. Some are bigger nose, smaller nose, but it can generally you can see that your eye level is pretty much in the center of your the sphere or like egg shape. And then follow this. You have to see the how the neck movement. So when you look slightly tilt down, you can see how the line move and the neckline going the opposite direction. So we will starting from here. So as we divide it, and then if you divide it from the words eyes and to the end of the chin, almost in the middle, you will have a nose, and you will have a mouth, and lips. We have a two upper lips and the lower lip, and then you have a chin. As you can see already, you can feel the little bit of shape of the human shape. And then, of course, this is the sculpture, so your hair looks a little bit more solid look than. And then follow your eyes. There's where your ear will be located. And then, now we are going to start kind of. So basics are done. So now you can already see the little bit of shape of the human head. And if you can see the like the skull or like eyes a little bit underneath, so you can see the little bit of shape. So you can just already lightly shade the eye area. This will give you already three-dimensional look, because not everything is flat. You have to make your nose is sticking out, your eyes are a little bit in. So as you can just kind of divide it. Also, in this case, I will put the light source in here. So then where you're going to have the most light part is in here. And then our head shape is more three-dimensional. You can see that it moving toward to the back. It became a darker. So what I will do, I will already divide into the different, and then I will shade in here. If you look at our face is like the egg shape, but each individual, there's a lot of different parts. Nose also will have a separate 1, 2, 3, which is where the light hit. And then second part. How much time do we have? So as you can see, nose, what I did, nose, if you look at it, you can see how nose, there's underneath the nose, and then it's the bones down in the center, and then is slightly more like triangular shape. And then later, if we just make it rounded with the nasal, and then we can create it like this. So what I'm doing in here, I'm going to do it in the middle of where the nose. Now, if you see it is slightly going toward the side, so the one side, which is my right-hand side, left-hand side will be more viewing than the other side. So my right side, if you look at if you look nose from the side, like this, but if you move toward to the little bit to the front, like if I just write it down, 1, 2, 3, 3 will be much smaller. So I think it will give you, we have a 13, 17. Okay. So every section we divide it into the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You can create a beautiful, like a 3-dimensional piece. So now I will do the shading. If I'm looking at it, this will be the number 3, and this is number 2, number 1. But light coming from here, this is a number 1 lightest place, and this is a darkest place. Usually when the lights start to dark, between the lights and dark, usually very dark, create a very distinctive line. And then back of the subject, actually you get the backlight. So that's not the most darkest place. Most darkest place will be where I'm really line it now. And your neck is a little behind your face. So you can just kind of shade it very lightly, give a little bit more like a 3D. You can see like a different level of it. I feel like I'm going back to my high school time. At the time, it was much easier. I didn't have to talk. I just had to play music and then put the earphone in my ear and then just kind of focus. Now I have to talk, so it's not that easy. So even if it's not perfect, so please forgive me. If I remember at the time, like what we see, we're trying to divide everything 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. There's a lot of area, which is even eye. Eye is not flat. Eye is also rounded. So we divide eye into the 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, because light is coming here, but this side you have a nose, so it creates a big shadow. So your 1 starting from here, 1, 3 is here. So now it's getting more and more, you can start seeing the shape. Even right next to your nose, you can see the dipping in here and then come out, and it create a little chin. So you can okay. Then, so now we have a basic construction is ready. It's almost like the scaffolding, like before you build a building, you make a little bone structure, which is like that what it's holding. So now it's time to do a little bit of detail to make it into the more shaping each element. faster. 5 more minutes. Okay, now I have to hurry. And also, when you're using eraser is not only erasing. Also, you can treat it as a white pencil. Because I'm doing in the dark negative of what you're doing, but you can use a eraser to creating a little bit more dimension. Give a nice like a highlight. Hold it. It's not done yet, but I just wanted to show off a little bit. Sorry. So how's everybody doing? Are you having fun sketching together? I'm sure it's not easy to watching and then sketching at the same time, but just remember, everything is not really that difficult. We're starting point, line, plane, and then solid. You make it into look like solid, but it's not. Also, you can use the eraser to blending. Sometimes if the line is too sharp. So eraser has a lot of functional. It's not only remove something from the mistake. Actually, you can use it as a part of the medium. So medium things like what we usually use to sketch and then so I hope you enjoyed the sketch. This is what we're starting, actually, when you look at it. Starting with the square and then dot of point and line, plane. And then when we put it all together, you can create a nice, the shape of the object. But as you can see, head is actually starting from the circle, and then we made it into the more like three-dimensional using the light and dark. So which is like a reason why we can see thing, and then, so because of there's a light and there's a dark. If there's only light, you cannot see the shape. And then as you can see, like the neck is a more like columns, and then you can see also like using the shade give you a little bit more three-dimensional way of looking. And then that's how you can draw something. I know this is very short time, but like it was a my biggest pleasure to share some time together, and hopefully everybody just practice, and then maybe next time when we get together, love to see your creation as well too, and enjoy sketching. Bye.